Hi everybody, welcome back. I know we've had a few weeks of a break here while life got crazy, but I have been working with a pelvic health PT during this in-between time and to get my pelvic floor and core back into running shape. And I've also started back into a bit of a running program, kind of started with a couch to 5K, sort of a walk a minute, run a minute, kind of a progression, building up the length of time that I was jogging and shrinking the length of time that I was walking. And then the last week or so, I've been able to jog very slowly, a mile or two at a time, or I'll go to the trails and jog up hills and walk the downhills for a few miles at a time. So it's been a lot of fun getting back into it. And I did make a recent post to my blog on runhappierpt.com all about the core, because I've been learning a lot about the core, and I wanted to do a follow-up video with some of the more advanced exercises. So I know the previous few videos went over some of the basic core exercises, kind of what I call like the core activation and spinal stability exercises, and then today I wanted to make a video with some of the more progressed core exercises that work the core, kind of how it's meant to be worked when you run, or the way that your core is challenged when you run, which is using the core as an energy transfer system to help use the forces coming in through the legs and recycle energy from the arm swing and the leg swing to just make the running pattern more fluid and more efficient. So to that end, a lot of these exercises involve sort of a rotation component or a stabilizing of the trunk during arm and leg movements in different planes. And so really, core exercises can be a lot of, there's a huge variety of exercises that you can do that all work the core in this manner. So we'll kind of go into that at the end of the video. If you hear baby noises, it's because I have my baby in the room with me today. She didn't want to nap, so hopefully she'll stay happy, but you may hear her interrupt throughout the video. So starting with on your back, I think we had touched on bicycles a little bit, but this is one that I like. A lot of these core exercises are not done on your back. In fact, there's only a couple that I do on my back. The spinal stability core activation exercises are pretty much all on your back, but once you get beyond that point, it's just not super functional to lay on your back and do core exercises. Doesn't really do a whole lot for you. So, but this one I do like. So this one is hands behind the head, starting with the knees in like a tabletop 90-90 position. Going to be trying to bring one elbow to the opposite knee as you straighten out that same side leg. Come back to neutral, and then rotating, trying to touch the opposite elbow to opposite knee, straightening out. So for me, it's going to be left elbow to right knee, straightening out left leg. Back to the middle, right elbow to left knee, straightening out right leg. And you'll notice the leg that's straightening is just hovering. And the opposite leg, the leg that's staying up, is not coming in. It's really just kind of staying at that 90 position, and I'm trying to rotate and reach with that opposite elbow to get to the knee. And you may notice that this is easier in one direction, harder in another. For me, it's harder going this way, for whatever reason. But that's a good old basic bicycle. A good core exercise for the back. Side planks, are a great spinal stability exercise. The way you can progress these to be more challenging for the core is to add things like hip drops, or a hip drop to a top leg lift, or a rotation where you reach under, reach up. Anything that adds motion in a different plane is going to be more challenging to the core. Front planks, same kind of thing. Adding in, I like to add little hip extensions where I'm just barely straightening out one leg at a time while trying to keep my trunk neutral. This is a good glute activation exercise as well as a core stability exercise. Here again, doing things like down on your elbows, up to your hands, or alternating little taps, hands, elbows, shoulders, hips, opposite hips. Trying to keep, again, the trunk stable. I didn't do a great job with those. So trying to keep the trunk stable while the arms are moving. Going from a plank to a side plank, back to a plank, to a side plank. This is another way to add a different dimension. Moving on to other sort of functional or just general strength training activities that include a good core component would be things like a lot of things involving lunges, but from a stationary lunge, even something so simple as just a row where you're opening up with that arm. You can imagine if I'm holding a dumbbell or something, coming elbow up towards the ceiling and just trying to open up that top shoulder. That rotation is going to add in some obliques and some of the intercostal muscles and work a bit of that rotation component. Same kind of thing. A lot of times I'll do a lunge with another movement. So one of the things I was doing, hi baby, yeah, chatterbox over there. One of the things I was doing yesterday during my workouts, I'm going to angle this up a little bit so that you can see better, was a lunge series coming into a forward lunge with a punch across. So something as simple as that. You can add weights to that if you want. Same kind of thing in a side lunge, doing a side lunge with a punch across. So some kickboxing workouts are really good for this kind of thing. You can even add a kick, punch, and then at the top come back and side kick, punch, come back, side kick, punch, come back, side kick. With a backward stepping lunge, same thing. You can do a punch across at the bottom, come back up to a kick, punch, kick, punch, kick, punch, kick, something like that. So just adding in a bit of a rotational component to just everyday weightlifting activities. Doing a lot of single leg activities really works the core and pelvic floor because you're having to use those muscles to help maintain your balance, maintain your pelvis level over that leg and not letting one side drop down where you fall over. So anything single leg squat, single leg pistol squat, single leg sit down to a chair, stand back up, three-way single squats, single leg deadlift where you're holding onto a weight, tipping forwards from the waist, coming back up, even adding a knee up at the end, or adding an upright row, or if you're using a single dumbbell, adding an overhead press. Anything like that is going to challenge the core, helping it to practice stabilizing while the joints around it are moving, while your body is changing position relative to gravity. So all of those things are going to work the core and be core exercises without you laying on your back doing a bunch of crunches. Same thing goes for plyometric activities. Burpees, definitely a good core exercise. Other things like box jumps, frog hops, single leg jumps in different directions. These are all, like, even running drills, skips. Great ways to work the core and work it in a more running related fashion, in a way where it's having to work to control your posture and your stability of your trunk while your body is changing positions relative to gravity, while your hip muscles are working to propel you forwards, while you're moving fast, changing directions. So definitely variety is key when it comes to working the core muscles, especially if you are a runner. So I hope that gives you some ideas on different ways you can integrate the core into current activities. It's definitely not one of those things where you want to try to tense it up and keep it tight the whole time you're doing an exercise, because you're not going to be doing that while you're running down the road. You'd run like the Tin Man, and it's just not efficient. So keep things relaxed, keep things fluid, but focusing on balance and stability while you're doing some of these other exercises. So I hope that just gives you some ideas. Again, as usual, this video is just intended for information only. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, prevent, or cure any injury or illness. It's also not guaranteed to improve your running performance at all. It's just me hopefully giving you some ideas maybe some new exercises to try. As usual, I would recommend that you run exercise ideas by your primary healthcare provider before you start doing them, just to make sure they're appropriate for you, especially if you are coming back from an injury or something like childbirth, as everybody heals differently and everybody is able to get back into things at a different pace. So make sure it's appropriate for you, but that hopefully will give you some fun new ideas of things to try. Thanks for watching and happy running.